Yes, people, Manscaped is back, but this time it's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of gradient settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.
Yes, people, good morning. Hope you're all well. Big up to everybody being here nice and early. I hope you're enjoying what will be a very nice sunny day, I believe, in the UK. So please make sure you get outside and enjoy it. I hope you had a great evening and good day yesterday. Big up to all of you for tuned into last night's show with Tom Canton. It was fantastic as ever. Great insight into what Arsenal are doing transfer business wise from his knowledge. So please go over and check that one out. Some really interesting news on a player that he's been following for a while. I won't spoil it, but make sure you go over there and check it out from last night's show. Make sure that you do me a favor and hit a like on this video and that you hit subscribe as well. And also, please make sure that you check out this deal. 20% off of the Beard Hedger, the best beard trimmer around from manscaped.com. No, it is not below the belt grooming. It is for your face. And if you click on the link, you'll get automatically 20% off using the code FTM20 on the Beard Hedger itself. You must go onto the Beard Hedger product. Easy to get to on the website. All you've got to do is click the link, hit beard and face trimmers, and the Beard Hedger is there. Click it, add it to your cart, and you'll get 20% off of it. So please make sure that you do that, people. Really important that we support Manscaped, who are sponsoring this channel. So please make sure that you do that. Listen, I'm going to say hello to everybody in the chat. We've got some fantastic people in, some regulars and some new people, which is always good to see. Big up to Steve, big up to Dan, big up to Emerson, big up to Mum, big up to Chazza, big up to Geordie Toon for Life, big up Chris. We've got Ash in the house. Hope you're well, bro. We've got Mohammed. We've got Mustafa. We've got Alex. Make sure you go over to Fordra on Football and support Alex, please. He'll be on later on this evening tonight with myself and Igal. Good morning to Matt. Morning to Simon. And good morning to Saeed. We've not gone bed yet. It's 20 to 1. Listen, you're a legend, bro. Enjoy it. This is what it's all about, Saeed. Make sure that you enjoy yourself, my bro, with all the Big Six lot over there. Make sure you go follow Saeed TV. Make sure you go follow Big Six. I'm sure you are already, but please make sure that you head over there and show them some love. Lots of content to come out, man. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, big fan of Big Six. All my bros over there. Absolutely love every single one of them individually and as a team. So big up to you, Saeed, and big up to everybody else who I haven't said hello to yet. Big up to everybody as well who's going to watch this on catch up. I know it's too early for some people, so please do make sure that I want to say a big thank you to all of you guys as well. Lots of news today. Going to talk about Arsenal because Arsenal have got some very exciting potential news. This comes through. Yeah, the transfer window really will kickstart. Going to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're going to talk about Jadon Sancho. We're going to talk about Ligt. We're going to talk about Manchester United and Manchester City as well. And there will be pretty much all of your clubs involved this morning because the transfer window is hotting up, people. It has to be said. We're going to get straight into it. Let's jump straight into the news because there's a lot of it. There's plenty of it this morning. I am actually going to say that this one has definitely got some legs. I think the relationship is completely broken down between player and manager. And we're talking about Jadon Sancho. And it looks now as if Borussia Dortmund and Juventus, along with PSG, are very keen on signing the 24-year-old Manchester United and England winger Jadon Sancho. Apparently, they can't meet the valuation at the moment. Sky Sports News is suggesting that Manchester United want 40 million and the clubs are not willing to pay 40 million, which I've got to say is actually quite crazy. I think that is a fair price for Jadon Sancho at 24 years old, who could have a potentially very, very good career at a club. So I think personally, this is a deal that absolutely should get done. Now, Dortmund he absolutely loves and Dortmund absolutely love him. So you can see why they're interested. But Juventus have shown keen interest for a few weeks now. PSG are actually the favourites, if you read sources and believe them to be true, that they will look to put in a bid worth up to £40 million. Now, if that's what they're asking for, I'm surprised Premier League clubs aren't all over this. I understand he hasn't settled in England. I understand he hasn't showed the form of his Dortmund days over at Manchester United. But Manchester United at the moment in the last couple of years hasn't been the place for a player to settle and flourish and blossom. It's been a lot going on. There's a lot behind the scenes. There's been a takeover now, a new structure. And I just wonder if there's a Premier League club that would be interested. Now, I've suggested Arsenal before because I feel like he would rather be an option that I would go with other than a Marcus Rashford. Now, neither of them would be my first choice, that's for sure. But would a Chelsea, would a Tottenham, would an Aston Villa try and get this signing? This would be a very, very good signing for a Premier League side, in my opinion, for £40 million. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on Jadon Sancho, as in Jadon Sancho, the player. I think he's got potential to be a phenomenal talent. I really do. And I know I say potential at 24, which is a bit odd. It's because he hasn't really been able to get anything out of it yet. I don't think any manager has really got the best out of Jadon Sancho. Even in Dortmund days, I thought he was really good, but I think he could have actually gone to another level. And I thought he was going to do that at Manchester United. I was really excited to see what he could bring to the Premier League, and he's just not been able to replicate any sort of form from his Manchester United days. So listen, big up to that move. Let's see if it happens. Manchester United fans, I think, will probably be okay with seeing him go, just for the pure fact that he's definitely not blossomed into a player they thought he would. So I think we need to keep an eye on this one because I think he's got some legs, and I can see definite movement when it comes to Jadon Sancho. One player who is staying though and has committed himself to the club, it seems, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, at the moment, there is some dodgy board business happening at Liverpool. And what I mean by that is they're letting contracts run down. Why? Why is Trent Alexander-Arnold on 1 year left? Why is Van Dijk and Salah on 1 year left? This is madness. This is poor business and management from the board. And I know that because I've been there. Trust me. I've had this with my football club over the last few years. When a player runs his contract down to 2 years left, you have to either get him to sign or sell. There's no, oh my God, we're going to let him run it down because he's the best player at the club. Doesn't matter. Nobody is bigger than the club. Yeah, the club is the star. Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk and Alisson, they're not bigger than Liverpool. They will go one day and Liverpool will remain. So that means Liverpool are bigger than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I understand that he wants to stay because, he's Scouse and he looks like he's going to be the future captain. I get that, right? I totally understand why people believe he's just going to sign. But this is risky because when Real Madrid come in and offer him a contract, it is not going to be good. Now, they might reject. Well, in January, he can go and have a chat with him if he wants. Because in January, that's the idea when you've got 1 year left. You go and have a chat in January and you go for a free in the summer. So they need to tie this guy down. Now, he's saying he wants to stay. He's saying he's committed to Liverpool. A lot of people believe that he will just stay whatever. I don't know about Van Dijk, Alisson or Salah. No idea. But it looks like Alexander-Arnold is definitely committed to Liverpool. Now, this is crazy for me. How you can let a player who I believe is a generational talent, one of the best fullbacks that I've seen around, he is absolutely phenomenal, and they're letting him run his contract down. What is happening there? Who's fallen asleep in the Liverpool board? Let's just be real, because they should be offering this guy anything to stay 2 years ago. You don't even want his contract running down to 3 years, let alone 2 years or 1 year. So Trent Alexander-Arnold has been left. It is an absolute neglect of him, Van Dijk and Salah. Now, with Van Dijk and Salah is a little bit different, I suppose, because they're in their 30s. They're coming to the end of their careers. They're going to hit soon the decline as a footballer. And perhaps Saudi Arabia would be a potential move for the pair of them when they hit their late 30s. But Alexander-Arnold is 24, 25 years old and has won everything in football with Liverpool. He is definitely the next captain. I do not understand what they are doing here. This is absolute madness for me. So, listen, if he commits at Liverpool, they're very lucky, but they need to really be careful about that because we've got killed by that a few times, Arsenal. We really have. And, I don't believe, personally, it's good business at all. I think it's very, very risky. I do not understand why they have let these contracts run now. I really don't get it. Nearly 200 people in here, only 50 likes, just over. Please make sure we get the likes and the subscribes up. I think we're only 50 away from 21.3. So let's do that. 21.4, should I say. So let's make sure that we do that. All we've got to do is hit subscribe. It's absolutely free, and hit the like button as well. And please make sure you click on the link to check out Manscaped because you don't want to miss your 20% off on the beard hedger. So please make sure that you go and order one of those, please, people. That will really support the channel and definitely support Manscaped, who are brilliant as our sponsors. Okay, we're going to move to this news. Does anyone know who this player is? No, I didn't know either. But it is Jan Couto. Now, Jan Couto has been at Girona on loan from Manchester City. He's yet to play for Manchester City, believe it or not. But Borussia Dortmund are expecting to go in for him. Now, Manchester City are in talks to sell him. They've not played him. He's a Brazilian right back, as I say, yet to play for the club. And it looks like Borussia Dortmund are the team. And they expect the German club to offer around 25 million for the 22-year-old right back. That's come from the Mail. Now, I don't know who this player is. I can't lie. But anyone from Girona is definitely a player that you need to be looking at. I know Dovbyk is being mentioned. I know that Savio is on his way to Man City and has actually arrived now. And Jan Couto is a player that apparently is very, very much highly liked by Dortmund. Now, when Borussia Dortmund like a player, my ears always prick up because they have always managed to get good players in the door. Whether you're talking about Mario Götze back in the day, whether you're talking about Marco Reus, maybe you're talking about Lewandowski, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan. And then you can move forward now. Even we just spoke about one, Jadon Sancho. Obviously, what's his name? Oh my word, Jude Bellingham, Haaland. There's so many that Dortmund have looked at. So I am now interested in this guy. A lot of people saying that he's actually a player that is very, very good. Surprising that Manchester City are looking to sell him when Kyle Walker is a player that isn't going to be around forever. But maybe they think they've got enough cover there. So, yeah, let's see if he does go to Borussia Dortmund. £25 million. I think that's fair money for a 22-year-old who's highly rated, who's been very, very good at Girona. Has been on loan elsewhere as well, but has been on loan at Girona mostly over the last 4 years, apparently, on and off. Or should I say two or three seasons. So let's see what happens with Couto. I don't know how highly Pep rates him at Manchester City, but it looks as if he will be allowed to leave. Someone who isn't allowed to leave, though, is Kevin De Bruyne. He is staying for his final year of his contract, and it is being reported that Pep Guardiola will sit him down and try to convince him to stay. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means try and convince him to stay for his final year. I don't know if it means try and convince him to stay and sign a new deal, or if it just means that if he stays for this season, he will be allowed to leave. There is no rumour on what happens in the future of KDB past this season, but it looks like he's staying for this season at least at Manchester City. Now, he's 33 years old. Is he going to want to stay long-term at Manchester City, or does he want another career move before he retires? I can't see him retiring here. I never have been able to see him retire here. I just think he's a player who, like most, wants to go and go back to perhaps one of the clubs that he's close to by his heart. Maybe he wants to go to Saudi Arabia on a free transfer next summer and earn a hell of a lot of money. But at the moment, looks like KDB is staying. However, in Pep's press conference, apparently, and some talk outside of that, he has made it quite clear that it might be quite hard to keep Ederson. Now, they are expecting more bids coming in from Al Ittihad over at Saudi Arabia. They're looking for around 50 million. They're anticipating 40 million-ish will probably be put in bid-wise. I think that could be enough to get Ederson gone because I believe Ederson wants to leave. I don't know that KDB wants to go. Whereas I think it sounds like Ederson is a sort of player who has made up his mind and is looking at the money. As a 30-year-old, believes that he can go over there and live the dream. So I expect Ederson to have some legs. Let's see what happens there. Moving away from Manchester City, if Ederson does go, by the way, expect a load of goalkeepers to be linked with Manchester City, right through from Oblak, Mignon, Diogo Costa, even Aaron Ramsdale was being linked yesterday, although they're not interested apparently. Donnarumma as well being linked yesterday, as mentioned here on this show yesterday morning. So I expect there to be quite a lot, if I'm honest, of goalkeepers linked now with Manchester City. Moving to the other side of Manchester, though, let's talk about Ligt, because Manchester United, they have offered just under 40 million euros, which is 33.6 million pounds to be exact, for the Netherlands centre-back Ligt. But Bayern Munich will not accept less than 50 million euros, which is 42 million pounds and just over. There is also going to be some add-ons that they would like, which will probably make it up to around about 45, 50 million pounds. He's 24, and Sky Sports Germany say that Bayern Munich are not accepting anything less than £50 million. Now, I still think that even at 45, £50 million, this is a good deal for a 24-year-old with that amount of experience, someone who the manager already knows, someone who's clearly going to play in the first team alongside Lenny Yoro, I think anyway. That looks to be a very good signing for Manchester United. I expect to see it done. If I'm honest with you, it's pretty much been green lighted. There's nobody there suggesting that this is not going to happen or a deal is going to collapse now. So I can imagine it's probably going to be the Ligt to Manchester United. Here we go in the next few days. I really do believe that. I don't see how this one does not happen. It makes absolutely no sense to me that this will definitely collapse. So I expect him to go to Manchester United, if I'm honest with you. Somebody else I expect to leave is Trevor Chalobah. Now, apparently the Chelsea defender is understood to have been shocked at being left out of the club's pre-season tour of the United States. And the 25-year-old believes he's been forced out of the club. That's come from The Guardian. Now, Todd Boehly definitely loves to sell players from Cobham. We've seen it with Mason Mount. And do you know what? I have a whole list of players that Chelsea have actually let go in their younger years through their academy. It's not a club that looks after its youth, in my opinion. Or at least, maybe that's harsh. Maybe they look after the youth, but they're quite happy to sell their youth, I would say, is what I would suggest is the case. There is absolutely no way they should have got rid of some of the players that they have. Now, Trevor Chalobah is linked with a move away to West Ham. It's around about 30 to 35 million pounds, which I suppose for a 25-year-old who's been quite solid for Chelsea and has done a good job, is quite good, is quite fair money and would be quite a good signing. That's Tomori or Chalobah that West Ham are both looking at. And it looks as if they're going to now pull out of the race for Jonathan David, West Ham, because of the signing on fee apparently being required, up to £10 million or something mad like that. But I've got a list of them here on my phone. I'm just going to read it out. These players, just off the top of my head, that have left Chelsea being part of the youth system. Lamptey, Livramento, Nathan Ake, Mark Guehi, Trevor Chalobah, Conor Gallagher, soon probably going to be sold by Chelsea, Declan Rice, Mason Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Tammy Abraham, Dominic Solanke, Eddie Nketiah. They're just a few. There's definitely more. If you went and searched, you'd be shocked how many of these youngsters that Chelsea have had that have just let them go. And I understand that Roman didn't respect the youth because he wanted win now players. So you're going to get a few of those from the Roman era. But it looks like they're still happening now. It looks like they're willing to get rid of Mason Mount, Trevor Chalobah. They look like they're trying to get rid of Conor Gallagher. I think Tottenham were interested, and potentially West Ham as well. I don't know. I think the youth players that you keep around, you need to try and blossom some of them. And let's be real, some of those names I've read out would walk into Chelsea's side now. Absolutely walk into it. You know, Solanke would play up front. Declan Rice would play in the middle. Mason Mount would still get a game. Mark Guehi and would still be at the back alongside Nathan Ake. Tariq Lamptey. I know they've got Gusto, so fair play. He probably wouldn't play. And Livramento likewise. But some of those players, some of those names, let's just be real. It's mad, to be honest, that they've not tried to keep hold of some of them. Anyway, that's that. That's Chelsea, and that's their problem and not mine. And I must say, I don't see things getting any better at Chelsea at the moment. That's for sure. I think they've got a lot of work to do. Someone who may be on their way out is Kieran Trippier. Now, he's had a good time at Newcastle, I must say. It's been a fantastic signing. He's only 33. I thought he was older than that. But he's attracting interest from 2 Saudi Arabian clubs. And with only 1 year remaining on his contract, he is set to leave Newcastle. That's coming from the Northern Echo. I think this one's going to get done. I think it's got some legs. There's a lot of Newcastle fans I speak to that have kind of accepted he's probably going to leave. And with 1 year left on his deal, and at that age, it makes total sense. It really does. And I think Kieran Trippier, let's be real, has actually been a really good player for the Premier League. You know, I think obviously started off at Manchester City, went to Burnley, Celtic, had some really good times. And then I think he went over from there to Tottenham, didn't he? And then was the right back when Kyle Walker went to Manchester City. And we've seen him from there go over to Atletico Madrid. We've seen him come back to Newcastle. He's just been a solid fullback, if I'm honest with you, and one that I think deserves a mention when we talk about greats in the Premier League. Maybe not a great, but you get what I'm saying. Respect to him. One player, according to Joe Linton, that is staying at Newcastle, which will be very important news for Newcastle fans, is Bruno Guimaraes. Now, there was a release clause that could have been activated up until mid-June, late June. It wasn't activated by either Manchester City or Arsenal, who were the two clubs that were rumoured to be interested in the player. And he's now looking to stay at Newcastle. Now, it would take a massive bid for things to change. And I do believe that Bruno Guimaraes will leave Newcastle, but I don't think it will be this summer. I think they have done well to keep hold of him. I think him and Isak staying at Newcastle is massively positive news for Newcastle. And they are dying for a good season now. They must get Champions League football and they must try to win a trophy, because for me, that is the only way that you keep these players. That is the only way you keep these players. So Bruno Guimaraes, I believe, 100 million, between 85 and 100 million, would probably tempt Newcastle still and would probably tempt the player. But then he'd have to push for the move for Newcastle to accept it, in my opinion. So I think watch this space and let's take a look at how this one could progress. I do think he'll stay at Newcastle now, and I do think that Isak obviously will as well. And that's massive news when it comes to Newcastle, because they are two players that I would absolutely love at Arsenal. I can't lie. The next player I've always said I would love at Arsenal is Ivan Toney. Now, apparently, Brentford and England striker Toney, 28 years old now, according to TalkSport, is prepared to run down his contract if he does not land a big move this summer. That is him saying, sell me because I'm going to be running down my contract. Now, do Brentford want to get money for him, or are they happy to see him running down his contract and keep hold of him? I think they should try and get rid of him. He clearly wants to go and play elsewhere. He wants to play for a big club. What does that big club look like? Is it a Chelsea? Is it a Tottenham? Is it a Newcastle or a Liverpool? Or does he go for one of the big boys? Manchester City definitely not looking at interested in him. And it doesn't look like Arsenal are either. Now, I always think it's a bit of a strange one. Is it because we want somebody better? Is it because we have somebody else that would fit our profile? Is it because Arsenal are looking elsewhere for a striker? Well, more on that in a minute. But Ivan Toney is looking for a way out. I actually think it might be Manchester United. And people might think this is crazy because they've just bought Xerxes. They've already got Højlund. What does it mean for them two? What it means is them two are young. Manchester United don't look like they're mucking around. It doesn't look like Manchester United are trying to buy an 11. It looks like Manchester United are trying to buy a squad. Hence why they're linked with 3 centre-halves. Hence why they're linked with here, there and everywhere players. Hence why they're linked with midfielders who will come in and definitely start and allow for the current starters to potentially be part of the squad players. Wouldn't surprise me if Ivan Toney goes to Manchester United, it really would not. I think it would be a good signing as well. I really do. Excuse me, Dan, Tottenham aren't a big club. Did I say big club? Well, let's just call them Tottenham Hotspur then. So that's Manchester United. Sticking with them, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. If they do want to buy a fullback, they need to sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I can see this happening, and I believe West Ham will probably end up getting their guy. I think they're asking for a little bit much from what I'm hearing, but West Ham are prepared to get him in. They are looking at other players as well. They're looking at Mazraoui and obviously Kyle Walker-Peters. I actually think Kyle Walker-Peters would be the best option for them. I really do. I've always been a fan and can play both fullback positions at left and right. But if they do want to sign this guy, Mazraoui, then Wan-Bissaka has to be sold. Now, Manchester United are really interested in this signing. I don't know if he starts ahead of Dalot, if I'm honest with you. I think Dalot's been one of the most underrated players for Manchester United. I thought he was one of their better players last season. So maybe he doesn't start ahead of Dalot straight away, but I'm sure that he can come in and take the place of him if he's as highly rated and reported as he is suggested. But Mazraoui is someone who Manchester United are interested in, but also West Ham very interested in the player as well. So let's see what happens there. I believe he'll be on the move, but let's see whereabouts he goes. Let's talk about this guy, because Jesper Lindstrom, Napoli player now, this was in his older days. He is being kind of tipped with going on a season-long loan to Everton. Everton are set to sign the Napoli and Danish midfielder Jesper Lindstrom. He's only 24 years old. It will be a season-long loan, which includes an option to buy of 18.5 million. Now, that's come from Di Marzio. People say is quite reliable. Some people say he's not so reliable, but this one does look like it's going to be happening. So 18.5 million option to buy. Good signing for Everton. Very, very highly rated player. and someone that Arsenal were actually linked with not too long ago. So I think this could be an exciting signing for Everton and one that we need to keep an eye on. I don't know a hell of a lot about him. I don't know all the positions that he plays, but I think he's been can be utilised wide or central. And I think he's been a bit of a flair player with some technical ability. So Everton will definitely look to be making the most out of that one as well. So let's see where this one goes. Let's move to Ipswich Town, shall we? I do like Ipswich. I can't lie. I do like what Ipswich are doing under Kieran McKenna. And I really like the fact that they're linked with this player as well. Jack Clark. Ipswich are preparing a bid for Sunderland winger Jack Clark, with Tottenham set to get a major part of any fee. That's because they have negotiated a 40% sell-on clause when they sold the 23-year-old to the Black Cats. Now, Sunderland, he's been one of their best players. He's one of their most exciting players. And when Spurs signed him, he was rated highly. Now, I feel personally this would be an excellent signing for Ipswich. And what I love about what Kieran McKenna is doing at Ipswich is he is using his knowledge, players that he's worked with, players that he's heard of, players that he's known, players that he knows, to bring them all to Ipswich. They're all going to be a similar sort of age. And he is going from being the under-18s manager to now being someone who's grown up with some of these players that he's bringing to Ipswich Town. Amari Hutchinson, Jacob Greaves. He went in for Philogene. Obviously, he's gone to Villa now. Liam Delap. Who else is there? Brandon Williams, Ben Johnson that he signed from West Ham, and now Jack Clark. Yeah, Kieran McKenna knows what he's doing, man. Obviously, last season he's got Harry Clark over from Arsenal. The other guy they had as well is completely gone from my brain. From Spurs, the striker, Dane Scarlett. So he definitely knows what he's doing, and he is trying to bring together these young players that can mold into what could be a fantastic side should they all reach their potential. Now, not all of them will reach their potential. There'll be some that don't make it as big as some of the others, but I have to say this would be a very good signing for Ipswich Town. Not sure how much they would accept, but if he's coming from Sunderland, it isn't going to be a hell of a lot of money, is it? So this could be good business. It really could, as far as I'm concerned anyway. So let's see what happens. Chelsea are signed with someone who's 22 years old. Wow, what a shock. Chelsea have made an approach for Philippe Jorgensen. He is a goalkeeper from Villarreal. They've made an initial approach. He's a Swedish-born Danish goalkeeper. Philippe Jorgensen, 22 years old and plays for Villarreal. That's coming from the Standard. Are Chelsea going to go and get a goalkeeper that's actually experienced? What's happening here? I mean, I do not understand what Maresca's doing here. Surely they need a goalkeeper in the ilk of an Emi Martinez, in the ilk of a Diogo Costa, Jan Oblak. Who else is available? Michael Magnon would be available from AC Milan if they paid the right amount of money. What are they doing? They've got another 22-year-old. They've already got Petrovic, who's young. They've got Sanchez, who I don't think is good enough, but Maresca says wants to be the number one. Like, what is happening there at Chelsea? Honestly, Chelsea needs some experience, man. Chelsea need players like Ivan Toney, like Pedro Neto. They should be going all out for players like Eze because they're the right sort of age. They're not 19. They're youngsters that have been around in the Premier League that are proven. Ivan Toney isn't old, but he's Premier League proven. Pedro Neto, young, but Premier League proven. Eze, Premier League proven. A centre-half like Mark Guehi, who they should absolutely try to get back at Chelsea, is Premier League proven. I do not understand what they're doing here. Chelsea, what are you doing? This Todd Bowley project, it's crazy. More young players? Really? I do not get it. It makes no sense to me anyway. That's for sure. Listen, we're going to close with a lot of Arsenal news because there is. So make sure you buckle yourself in for this one, people, because this one is becoming a little bit more exciting. Now, I'll start with the news reported yesterday from a few sources, but this one has come from the Standard. Sue suggests that after Calafiori gets done, which should be done very, very soon. This is the first one I'm going to touch on, actually, because there's a lot of discussion around, oh, this one's not going to happen still. Why is it not getting done? I totally understand the frustration, trust me. But I'm being told it is not from Arsenal's perspective. It is not the reason. It's not us mucking around. This has come from reports over at AFC Stuff, which I always go by on Twitter, saying that the Calafiori transfer to Arsenal will reach the definitive white smoke in the next few hours. Bologna are confident to tighten the agreement with Basel regarding the final details of the deal. We're almost there. this time is now. Listen, Bologna and Basel are the reason that this has been holding up. That is why it has not happened yet. Thankfully, it's not Edu and Arteta trying to scrimp and save. It is actually because Bologna and Basel have been trying to agree for a while now this fee. But there are reports after we signed Calafiori that we are going to go all out for Nico Williams and Mikel Merino. But we face stiff competition from Barcelona for both Spanish internationals. Now, I absolutely would be all over these two signings. We spoke last night with Tom Canton about Mikel Merino, who explained exactly what sort of midfielder we would be getting if Mikel Merino is the guy that we want. Now, Mikel Arteta has tried to put a very, very, very comfortable word in with him to say that he is the player that he wants and that he should come to Arsenal. He's tried to sell him the project, and we are putting in a proposal to try and allow that to happen as things go. Now, as we speak, I think what we need to do is look at what sort of price this player is. Real Sociedad say he's leaving. He's made it clear he wants to go. The rumour is £20 million is around about what they're after. That's an absolute steal. For a player of his experience, 28 years old, a player who's been one of La Liga's better midfielders, according to Tom, over the last few years, a player that Tom has followed for a very, very long time, and someone that he's always spoken about, had his time at Newcastle and Dortmund as well, but has settled over in La Liga. He believes he would be the perfect number 8 to come in and be competition to Declan Rice and start some games and be part of what needs to be a rotated midfield for next season. We cannot play the same 3 every single game. It just won't be able to happen, not with the amount of games we've got. So Mikel Merino would be a very good sign in that respect. His physical attributes are always definitely a help. He's quite a tall, commanding midfielder. He's got some height and he's good in the air, as we saw the goal that he scored against Germany for Spain to win them the Euros. Not that game, but you get what I'm saying. On the road to that, I think this could be a really good bit of business for Arsenal. And for £20 million, it's an absolute steal. But we do face stiff competition from Barcelona, who also want the other player that we're looking at, which, of course, is Nico Williams. Now, this would be, in Tom's words last night, the signing of the summer if Arsenal were to get Nico Williams. And I kind of agree with him. This one would be really exciting. Now, people that are saying he's a left winger clearly haven't watched him because he plays on both wings. And he has done for Athletic Club. He is very, very much happy at Athletic Club, but he does now want to look elsewhere. And his dream apparently is Barcelona, but the reports aren't suggesting that his dream is only Barcelona. They're saying that he would be interested in Barcelona, and Barcelona are interested in him. However, they cannot afford what he is asking a week, and also at the moment they cannot afford to activate his release clause, which means they're going to have to sell. So I believe we will see some players leaving Barcelona. This is going to cause a domino effect because Barcelona are linked with so many players. Mikel Merino, Nico Williams, Dani Olmo. They can't play them all. They've already got Pedri, Gavi, Busquets, De Jong, Lamine Yamal. They're basically trying to buy the Euro team that's won the Spanish team that's won the Euros, aren't they? Fair play to them. I don't blame them, but they're not going to be able to get them all. So I can see a domino effect happening. Potentially Rafinha, potentially some of the I think there's going to be a domino effect is what I'm trying to get at here, really. And if they cannot tempt him, Arsenal are the club that are very, very much interested. Now, it's not only Arsenal. Of course, there's going to be other clubs interested. But Mikel Arteta has made it his mission to try, after Calafiori, to bring in both Mikel Merino and Nico Williams. That definitely is very exciting. They would be very good signings for Arsenal. And if we look at getting Calafiori, Mikel Merino, and Nico Williams, that is our whole left side sorted. The whole of our left side now has some sustainability because Nico Williams will start on the left wing. Yes, Martinelli and Trossard, it might be harsh, but you know what? It's a squad now and it's Rufus time. This is going to be a phenomenal signing if it happens for Arsenal. And Mikel Merino, who knows him very well, will be alongside him in the left 8. Calafiori will be at left back. That is a completely different left-hand side. And everybody knows who it's going to be. None of this, who's going to play left back today, not sure. Is it Kiwior? Is it Zinchenko? Or is it Tavares or Toney? Or who else has played there for Arsenal? Tomiyasu. So many left backs we've had, man, that have played there makeshift for it. This guy's coming in. Left wing, Trossard and Martinelli have done a great job. Maybe they can stay in the team. But for me, Nico Williams plays if he comes in. And he's definite cover for Bukayo Saka as well. There will be times when perhaps Williams and Martinelli play if Saka needs a rest or if he's injured. So this would be a phenomenal signing. It really would. So let's keep an eye on this one. I'm not sure what legs it has from Nico Williams' position. I do think he wants to take a look at Barcelona and stay in Spain. I do think there's some truth to that. But if that does not happen, he definitely will look at Arsenal. And people sometimes don't like to hear this, but Arsenal sometimes need to show a little bit more ambition. There's a release clause there that can be activated for £49 million. Activate it. Manchester United pretty much did that. There wasn't there wasn't a release clause, in the Lenny Yoro deal. But when they found out that Real Madrid were interested, they were like, all right, let's see how interested they are. There's 50 million. And Lille were like, whoa, okay, we're accepting this. Like, you've got to go there. And he went there. We might have to do that now with Athletic Club, because Athletic Club don't care where he goes. They just want the release clause money. So activate that release clause and let Nico Williams and the reps decide it, because £49 million for him is a steal. That is an absolute steal. So for me, I think we should go all out for this one. And if you're spending £70 million on those two players, that is not a lot of money. I thought we'd have to spend maybe over that just for a wide player that was exciting. To get Williams and Marino for £70 million, this has to be done. It's an absolute must. The other player who apparently Arsenal are looking at to be excited about is the Sporting Lisbon striker, Victor Gyokeres. Sources close to Portugal are suggesting that this one could be back on, I quote. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Do you know, I was looking at with Tom last night. He got 50 GA last season in 58 games. Absolutely crazy. I couldn't believe it when he read that stat out. I've not actually looked at it myself to see if that's true. That is unbelievable. It was something like 30-odd goals and, I don't know, 15 assists or something mad like that. It was just crazy. Close to 50 GA. Wow. I'm a fan. I am. Not a lot of people are. Not a lot of people want this one. I like everything about what I see. I think he's old school, centre forward, proper number 9, can link up play. A player that I think could do very, very good in the role that Kai Havertz has played in the back end of last season, but one that actually is quite clinical in the box, one that does know where the goal is, one that's able to show that he's clinical for both Coventry and for Sporting Lisbon. And people sometimes smirk at the Coventry quotes. I don't. The Championship is a physical, very tough league, competitive league. And he scored 27 goals for Coventry and put them into the playoff final pretty much on his own. For me, you could see how important he was, because Coventry didn't get into the playoffs this time without Victor Gyokeres goals. And they would have with his goals, trust me. So for me, this would be an okay signing. And I feel like if we can't get Alexander Isak, the next best is Ivan Toney or Victor Gyokeres. And if we don't want Toney, we don't want Osimhen because he's going to PSG, then I think we should do what we can to get this guy in. He's £84 million release clause. Do we want to pay that? Do we want to activate all that? Or will they probably go for 70? Well, let's test the water. If they're saying no, it's the release clause only, then go for the £84 million. We can afford it because some of the player sales that we'll speak about in a minute are actually going to bring us in some money. If you bring in 100 million plus, which we probably should do from the players that are going to be leaving the club, then you've still got 20 odd million to spare after you release the clause of Victor Gyokeres. So personally, I feel it would be a good signing. R9 is saying it's in a farmers league. One, I think that's a little bit disrespectful. I don't think that any of them are farmers leagues. If I'm honest with you, they're definitely not the level of the Premier League. But he has come over to England and impressed. So I think it would be a good signing. But maybe a lot of people are disagreeing with that one. Let's talk, though, however, about some other news in relation to Arsenal's player sales and players that could be on the move for Arsenal. One of those players is Jacob Kiwior. Now, there was rumours that potentially Bologna were interested and he wasn't, but it's looking likely now. The Gazzetta are saying that Inter Milan are close to an agreement with Jacob Kiwior. Now, I don't know how much that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 20 million or over 20 million, but I imagine it is roughly around that. I think personally, it's a deal that will probably end up getting done. I don't think Jacob Kiwior has a future at Arsenal now. I think Calafiori coming in, he already wanted first team football at Arsenal. It's not going to happen when Gabriel's there. It's definitely not going to happen when Timber and Calafiori are coming back in. That is definitely not going to be the case. So for me, Calafiori, once that gets done, watch what happens after that with Arsenal. Does Marino come in? Does Nico Williams come in? Does Victor Gyokeres come in? Yeah, this is exciting for Arsenal if this is true. If these sources are actually legit, then Arsenal could have a very exciting window after all. So let's see what happens there. The next rumour I wanted to talk about was Emil Smith Rowe. I'm going to read out a quote from you from Charles Watts, who has talked on Emil Smith Rowe and spoken about him and what he believes, Mikel Arteta believes anyway, about Emil Smith Rowe. I think he probably will end up going. However, in an ideal world, according to Charles Watts, Mikel Arteta would keep Emil Smith Rowe. This time last year, he made it clear that he would not be sold, and I think his stance would be the same this time around if it was just down to a footballing decision. Smith Rowe has a strong desire to be playing regular football, so Arsenal would reluctantly let him leave should a good offer arrive. But at the moment, that offer has not arrived. It's certainly not a case that Arsenal will be forcing him out of the door. Now, that's really interesting for me because it looks as though we don't want to sell him. Arteta's not moved on that stance, but I think money will talk. I really do. I think if Fulham or Crystal Palace were to actually put in that bid of 40 million plus, I think Emil Smith Rowe will become a player that leaves Arsenal. I do. And I think Eddie Nketiah is exactly the same. You know, myself and Tom spoke about it last night that if a bid of 30 million plus comes in, you're probably going to see Eddie Nketiah go. And some Arsenal fans might get precious and go, but look at this, look at that happening. Sometimes you've just got to make the deal happen. And if you can get 30 million for Eddie Nketiah, over 30 million for Eddie and Smith Rowe, 15 to 20 for Nelson, you've got to let them go and have first team football. They've been, as much as you might not rate them all, they've been good servants to Arsenal Football Club. They've come through the youth ranks. They're proper gooners, Arsenal through and through. For me, we've got to say goodbye to them, in my opinion. So that one could be very interesting. One player that looks like he is on his way out, of course, is Aaron Ramsdale. But Chelsea, after saying that they would like a goalkeeper, have ruled him out. Now, we've just reported that Chelsea are looking at the Villarreal goalkeeper, and they've also got Sanchez, they've also got Petrovic. I do not think they're going to be looking at Aaron Ramsdale. So where does he go? Manchester City were sniffing around him yesterday, but I don't believe those rumours. Where's he going to go in the Premier League? I honestly believe if he stays in the Premier League, it will be at a club like Wolves. It will be at a club like Brentford. It will potentially be for a club like Southampton, maybe Ipswich Town if he wants to go down that level. I think Aaron Ramsdale is a really good goalkeeper, and I think he deserves to be playing at a higher level than that, if I'm honest. So maybe he'll go abroad. Will Newcastle want to come in? Because I'll tell you this now, if Newcastle signed him, they definitely would have a better goalkeeper than all the ones they've got there now in Dubravka and this new Nottingham Forest lad that didn't play for them, and this obviously Nick Pope with his injury problems. They wanted Marmashvili. Now they're going to obviously go and keep Nick Pope and have some backup goalkeepers. For me, Newcastle was the only club I thought that could potentially go for him. Now, it could be a madness and Man United putting an offer or Chelsea do still go for him, but it doesn't look like that's likely at the moment. And Aaron Ramsdale, I think, will probably end up going to a club that's playing in the bottom half of the table. I don't want this to be a loan deal. I don't want this to be an option to buy. We need to sell Aaron Ramsdale for £30 million. And if no one offers that, we keep him at Arsenal as backup. That's what I suggest. Honestly, it is crazy that people suggest that we just loan him out for the season. Why? Absolutely ridiculous. Like, there's no way you should be loaning a goalkeeper that's got in team of the season, been in a title race for 2 years. There's absolutely just no way that should happen, in my opinion. So I don't know what your thoughts are personally, but I think it is absolutely crazy to suggest that this would be a player that we just sell for cheap or loan. Not something I want to see happen, that's for sure. So let's take a look at where he could go. And I do think there's an opportunity for him to go to one of the clubs in the Premier League. The last bit of Arsenal news is Chido Obi-Martin. And Fabrizio Romano reported yesterday that Arsenal have confirmed that Chido Obi-Martin is not to sign a new deal at the club and will be leaving as a free agent. Chido will decide his next club soon after visiting the English and German clubs. Now, Manchester United are one of those clubs. He is a very highly rated youngster. He's one player that all the Arsenal fans were excited about because he scored 10 goals. He's a player that excited a lot of Arsenal fans. I think he scored 10 goals. I think he scored 7 goals. Then he scored 5 goals. I think that was against West Ham. Crazy. Now, there's positives on this and there's negatives on this. The positives are he's a top talent. The positives are he'll probably go on and have a very good career. The negatives are actually when you are of that age and you are so far ahead physically of the other players around you, when they grow up to your size, things get a little bit tricky. Now, I had and I know it's a completely different level of football, but I had a young player that I knew that was by far the best player in my year. Absolutely phenomenal. 3 years later, we all grew up. He didn't, and he didn't get in the team. And Chido Obi Martin is so far ahead of him, everybody else around him physically, apparently, that maybe that could happen. So I don't know if this is going to be a good thing for a club that signs him, or if he's actually going to be the next J. Emmanuel Thomas, Dan Crowley, Quincy Owusu-Obey, Arturo Lopoli, that doesn't do anything and is told that they're going to be absolute stars. So I think just don't get a little bit carried away by this one. Arsenal fans they were starting to say this is going to be the next Thierry Henry. Oh my God, what have we found here? This is Ian Wright in the making. I haven't seen him play still. I've seen some of his goals. He looks a good player. But let's be real. We've got players at this club that were supposed to be the next best thing. Reece Nelson was supposed to be better than Saka. Eddie Nketiah was supposed to be Ian Wright. Emil Smith Rowe was supposed to be better than Jack Wilshere. I don't know. I personally don't feel like that one will be a massive kick in the teeth for Arsenal in years to come. But I could be wrong. He could be absolutely phenomenal. It could be phenomenal. Senderos is one that people are talking about. Yeah, the next Tony Adams, they told us. Crazy, absolutely crazy how we big up players, isn't it, as a fan base? But there we go. Listen, that is it for this morning's news. Big up to all of you for being here. Nearly 400 of you, which means we must have 200 likes. Yeah? No. We've only got 141 people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. And make sure you click on the link in the pinned comment, which will give you 20% off of the Beard Hedger. They are the best beard trimmers that you need around. Manscaped are no longer just looking after your balls. They're also looking after your beards and your face as well. All you need to do is click the link. It will take you straight to an automatic 20% off. You must click on the Beard Hedger, which is under beard and face, beard trimmers, Beard Hedger, and it will just take the money off automatically as long as you go through that link. So please make sure that you do that. Hit the likes, subscribe. Make sure you join me later on this afternoon. I'm going to be talking about Arsenal transfers because there is going to be some breaking news later on. We're going to talk later on tonight with Igal and Alex. Here he is, Forder on Football. Make sure you go and follow Forder on Football and make sure you do what he says, which is hit the likes, people. And we'll see you tonight. That will be around about 8 o'clock this evening. I'm going to try and get another Gooner on with me as well. So there'll be 4 of us. So please make sure that you are there for that one as well. And yeah, we will see you next time, people. Take it easy. And we are out.
Yes, people, Manscaped is back. But this time, it's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of radiant settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.